Alright, hopefully everything's looking good. Lovely. Okay, welcome back everybody. Thought we'd do something a little bit interesting today. So, as you know, we've been completing the CS50 program, and a couple of things that we wanted to work on is using Scratch to build a game. And one of the things that I really wanted to do was to try the brand new Affinity software for creating characters, making a bunch of pixel art. So we're going to be working on that. And hopefully everything works well. So let's get right into it. The first thing that I'm going to be showing is Affinity. Now Affinity is quite interesting because there we go. Let me see. Okay, looks good. Yeah, so we were talking specifically about Affinity. Let's get into it. Okay, so this is the brand new layout for anybody who's joining us now. Let me just double check that. If I don't see the chat, please don't get mad at me. I'm still figuring out how to use OBS, and I have a whole bunch of things going on here all at the same time. Let me see. How do I open this? Okay, so I think it was in Docs. Nope. Chat. That's the one. There we go. Okay. We got Mehi in the building. What's going on, buddy? Good to have you with us. Welcome, welcome. All right. So let's get into it. So for the game, I was actually thinking about creating a couple of characters. So I have a couple of characters here. And what we're doing is we're going to try recreating these guys into pixel art. So I'm a little bit further into the process, but let me just explain it really quickly. So Affinity has a beautiful new layout that they've set up here. You can see up here they got the vectors, you got the pixels, you got the layouts. If you guys can hear me, let me know in the chat. I'm not sure if my microphone is working. Hopefully it is, but we'll see how it goes. Awesome. Big Irv, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much. You are way cuter than I am. Okay. So, like I said, we have a couple of characters here. One of the things that I like to do when I'm using pixels is to create a pixel grid. And so if I zoom in here, so I don't know if you can see all the straight and narrow lines. This is a really beautiful feature that they've implemented for allowing people to create pixel art. So what you would technically do is you would just go to View and Grid and Axis right here. And that automatically shows you the pixel grid. So you can, modify your spacing. I'm just using 1 pixel for now and 1 division. And what I've done so far is just sort of draw an outline around the person, so you can kind of see, we're getting an idea of what this person looks like, right? So all the way down there. And if I just zoom out, this is kind of what they look like. So it's really, really great for creating video games because you're creating like a pixel outline and then you can kind of color it in and shade it, which is hopefully what we're going to be getting into today. It's not going to be a super long live stream. And hopefully, I think my mic is working. I think you're just messing with me. Everything works. Thank you very much, Mehe. I appreciate it, man. And bigger if you can go to hell. Alrighty. So we're gonna we're gonna get right in. So you got the pixel tool. It's right over here where the paintbrush is. I really love the layout that they have here. If you're someone who's coming in from Illustrator or something like Inkscape, this is very, very intuitive. Right at the top here, you're gonna have a couple of options. So you have one for vector, you got another one for pixel, you got another one for layout if you decide you ever want to get into creating books, you know, making websites, that sort of thing. And then vector is obviously just sort of the standard Illustrator menu. But I like to go for pixel because it kind of matches exactly what we're trying to do here, which is creating, you know, pixel characters, pixel art, right? And hopefully if you guys want to go ahead and you can give these people names. We're going to be including every single person here. So let's just jump right in and start pixelating. So I just go through sort of very generally create the lines. Right here I'm just holding down my mouse so you can get these lines. And if you don't like this kind of zigzag, what you could do is you just press Control or Command if you're on your Mac, and you can delete some of the edges so that you get a sort of nice blend of everything, right? I'm like the Bob Ross of MacBooks. Tweet it. So we're gonna go ahead and sort of do the outline really simply. And if you hold down the control key, you can actually erase everything. So that's pretty cool. It's really intuitive. Honestly, I love the way it is. Right over here, if you want to skip ahead. So one thing you can do, if you have a line going like this and you want to just jump all the way here, you press Shift and click, and it automatically generates a line for you. So it's really cool. Honestly, I love the way they did this. It's super, super intuitive, especially if you are building, you know, video games and that sort of thing. So I'm just going to go ahead, speed things up a little bit here so you guys are not too bored. And if you're watching this, you're doing the CS50 program, I'd be really, really happy if you can subscribe to my channel. Obviously, I'm going to have a lot more videos coming. This is my sort of my first one. I'm just dipping my toes into it. And we're going to be covering a lot of exciting topics, stuff that I think a lot of people haven't had a chance to just get a really good explanation for. You know, I feel like a lot of people are struggling, especially with certain things like Tiedemann, for example. By the way, we're going to have a video on Tiedemann coming soon. So if you have been struggling with that problem, one of the things that I'm going to be covering in the video is not only how to solve Tiedemann, but also I'm going to be covering how to get into the kind of mindset that allows you to solve it in a really easy way. Because believe it or not, a lot of the CS50 problem sets and function sets and everything, they're actually really easy. And when you get into something like Tiedemann, or you get into something like programming in general, or I think just anything in life, the difficulty that you experience, a lot of that is automatically determined by how you think about it. So if you go in with a mindset thinking to yourself like, I'm not going to be able to do it because it's really hard, and people said that they're, you know, struggling with it, and, you know, maybe you attach like a little bit of ego to that. I know I'm jumping ahead into the video already, but whatever, man. We got time. I'm going to be covering this stuff in detail, but I think it's useful to kind of delineate it a little bit. Sometimes when you're doing things, and especially if you're a total beginner, like let's say you're taking jiu-jitsu or something, or I don't know, you're trying to make pixel art, and you're telling yourself that you're not super creative, you're not super talented, you're automatically placing a box. You're putting yourself into a box in your mind where you're saying, I'm not this and I'm not that. And then when you end up struggling, what ends up happening is you sort of reaffirm these things in your own mind, right? So you go into it and then you struggle a little bit, and instead of pushing through and finding a solution, you're just going to say to yourself that this is way too difficult. It's not for me, you know. And I get these thoughts all the time, like, you know, looking at this, I might be tempted to say that this is really bad. I don't know what I'm doing. This is obviously my first time trying this. But if I go into it with that mindset, as soon as I start looking at it, if I turn off the background, I might say, well, this is terrible, you know? Let me go take a break. Or let me just delete this file and start over. And then I never get anything done. So it's not a good idea to go into things thinking to yourself that you're just not that talented or you're not that smart. Just do your best, you know? Do your best. And if you struggle, you'll find a way to push through it if you break it down into little problems. Okay, so let's get in here. We're going to break up this shoe. So we're just going to go in here, cut this up, right down the middle there. I'm going to delete some of these jagged edges. Let's see what the chat is saying. Interesting. Oh, Awesome Show. Welcome. Welcome. Guys, follow Awesome Show, by the way. He does some really, really fun stuff, and he has some great audience members. I heard Drew and Smallsy attend his chat. They're really good people. Check them out. You're going to have the time of your life. And when Drew and Smallsy are not there, they'll be back tomorrow. So, about to say, break up the shoe. It bothers me. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. That's very nice of you. So, you could see we got a line down the middle. We've divided up all the areas. And now the cool thing about Affinity is we can just get right in and start painting the stuff. So I'm going to turn this back on. And right over here where the pixel tool is, if you go down, let me see here. I believe it was one of these. You can actually click it and it'll automatically fill it in right there. You see where it says fill tool? So you can do pretty much everything from gradients to you know, solid colors. So I'm just going to choose this, I'm going to choose none for now. And I'm going to go ahead, use the color picker, and select this shade of brown right here. And what I'm going to do is fill in just this area, right? So we use brown, click on the pixel grid, and go ahead and fill that in. Click fill. Do that. Get in here. There we go. So it's not the fill tool, it's the flood fill tool. So it's kind of like MS Paint. So you can just jump right in, fill it in, and I can fill in all these little areas around here. Turn this back on. I want to go ahead and select the fill tool. Just do none. So that kind of erases what we did before. And we're just going to choose the flood fill tool. So I'm going to use the color picker. Choose a nice light color for this guy. Go back to the pixel grid. And we're going to select that same color and just color in these parts of his skin. Okay, so we got the arms over here. And it's super simple, right? You can make game characters really, really fast using Affinity and Scratch, just to kind of get your foot into it, you know, sort of dipping your toes in. And no, follow Awesome Show. You should. He's really popular. He's an awesome guy. That's why he's called Awesome Show. You guys are gonna have a great time over there. He does a lot of fun stuff. He travels the world. You know, he's a seasoned traveler. Really great guy. And once you get there, make sure you tell him Andrew says hello. Alright, we're going to choose another color here. I really like this sort of dark green, so we're going to go with that. And we can turn this off. There we go. Do the arms, the legs. And then once we're done, we can just jump right in and start, shading some of these areas. Like up here, if we're not too happy with the way this looks. So let's go ahead. And one of the cool things also about Affinity is it keeps track of all the colors you need to use. I've never really enjoyed using swatches that much. When I was using stuff like Illustrator. Sometimes I would use it, but especially if I'm just coloring really quickly and I need my mind to be working fast. I don't really have time to be setting up swatches and doing all that kind of stuff. Unless, of course, it's a pretty big project, and that's a bit of a different story. So with little areas like this, if it's gone, one thing I can do is just check to see which pixels are in the way. So it's kind of like MS Paint, right? It's context aware. It fills within the borders. So you can just use Command, remove that, and then go back in with the tool, and then just fill in that little extra space, right? And if you're not happy about it, like again, I have an open area over here. What I can do then is go back to the pixel tool, choose black, and then just fill that in. So already we're starting to look a lot better over here, right? Oh, this guy loves green. Actually, we can change the colors a little bit. What do you guys want? If you guys want different colors, let me know. We'll give him a pink shirt if you want. I don't care. Let's do black for the pants. There we go. And his shoes are, looks kind of like a muddy brown. You could do that. So let's go here. We'll select this color of brown. Maybe we can make it a little bit darker. What's going on here? Interesting. Why is that happening? Choose this color. Get in there with the pixel tool. Let's just make sure everything around here is closed off. So right there, right there, right there. That might be a bug in the software. I think we might have just discovered a bug. But if not, yeah, it keeps happening. Interesting. Okay, we'll have to figure that one out in a second. Work on your VR chat avatar instead. I can recreate that. I can do that. Totally. Alright, you know what? Let's give him the same colors as the the VR chat avatar. So I think it was pink. It was pink for the pants. Might have to undo a couple of things. I think I know what happened wrong. So I'm just gonna undo. Okay. It was probably because all of this is black. And if you fill this in with black, now all of a sudden you see the boundaries gone. So you got to be careful. Even if you're going to use something like black, make sure it's a little bit lighter. So we're going to give him Look at him. This is what my VR chat character looks like. I don't have him here now, but this is what he was wearing. And I think the shoes were this shade of green. There we go. All right, so that's that's my VR chat character. um, he doesn't actually look like this, by the way. He had like sport clothes, and he was wearing pants, like Superman sort of underwear outside of his shorts, and he had what do you call it? Like a tank top, like a skin tight thing going on here. It was pretty funny. I'll put him up on YouTube at some point. Oh, and he had a mustache too. Actually, maybe we could you can draw a mustache. Let's go for it. So we'll use the pixel tool, and we got to use a brown mustache because the carpet has to match the drapes. So let's see here. So let's start there. Okay, I'm going to delete that part. And let's see. We'll give them, oh, sorry. I went wrong with that. Okay, let's start over. So we're going to give him a mustache. Should we just leave it like that? Okay, that's perfect. There we go. It's a nice German boy. Beautiful. The character looks like a nurse. He does. He really does. Okay. So that's our nurse, our resident nurse. And we have a couple of characters here that we're going to work on as well. But for now, and I'll cover this video some more when we come back, because obviously we're going to have to shade this in and do all the little things, because you'll notice like some lines over here that you can create, like you could do with black or a darker shade of green. You can shade these parts in here, so there's a nice little bit of contrast. There's a little bit of lighting going on. I'm not going to work on that right now just because we want to kind of move forward, and I only have about 30 minutes until the live is done. So let's just go ahead, fill in the rest of this. So we're going to use flood fill tool. Let's go for white, fill this in, and this guy's mustache, white and white. Perfect. So I want to copy just this character, right? So I'm gonna turn this part off. Let's rename, let's give our character a name. Let's call him John. Okay, John the nurse. There we go. And the cool thing about Affinity, so Affinity actually got bought out by Canva recently, and this is what I meant when I said intuitive. It works exactly how Canva works. So you got maybe the, let's call this the next level of Canva, where you have it offline and you have all these amazing tools. But if you want to export, you just go over here to export PNG. You can select, this character. It tells you selection only. I'm going to go ahead and export. I'm going to save John the nurse to my documents just really quickly. And this is really cool. It just opens right up. So there's John the nurse right there. And I'm going to close it. Save the file. I'm going to quit out of Affinity. So things are working a lot faster. And let's jump into Scratch. Okay, so here we are in Scratch, and part of what I'm doing here is, especially for week 0, we wanted to work on specific algorithms. So how you can input a game based on some of these functions that are provided, and a lot of this stuff is programming basically on a very small procedural level. It's fun to learn how programming works using stuff like this, right? So they have a lot of fun stuff over here. They got video sensing, they got music, text to speech, translate. You can make pretty much anything on a small level, and it's really good for prototyping and also helping you think in those kinds of procedural ways, right? Looks like Dirty Sanchez. That's exactly right. um, so we have here just a backdrop, right? And you can edit your backdrops right there. So the basic idea that I came up with here was we're gonna call it the elevator game. And the reason I set this up is because when I was thinking about the procedure behind programming an elevator, if an elevator is moving up and down throughout a building, there has to be some kind of optimal algorithm to allow that elevator to get everybody at the same time, or not at the same time, like where they're not waiting for too long. So that's sort of the general idea behind it. So what I wanted to do here is actually to create very very simple, backdrop, and to just create a few things that can mimic what it's like being in a building. So I'm gonna just make a couple of doors here. Let's call this the elevator, right? So just gonna duplicate that. Oh, you can't duplicate it? Okay. So we'll make it about this size roughly. Okay. And then we'll just do the delete that. So let's make it about this size. Okay. And then I'm gonna choose this one, delete it, choose this one. Oh, there it is. Copy and then paste. So there's my second one. Okay. So those are basically the gist of it is those are my elevator doors, right? And I'm using shift here to kind of highlight both of them. For the fill, I think we just want sort of a neutral, let's say, gray fill somewhere in this area. There we go. That looks more like an elevator door. Let's move that one a little bit to the right. And let's move both of them down a little bit. And then we're just going to highlight both. Copy. Paste. Okay, so that's elevator 1, elevator 2, paste again, elevator 3, and elevator 4. Okay, cool. And the other thing we're going to do is we're just going to open up this area right here. So I want this to be like an exit. So you have, actually maybe it makes more sense if I just build this out. So let's just say these are the apartments where all of our characters live. Okay, so we're gonna make their doors brown somehow. So let's just choose, I think brown is somewhere around here. Yeah, just less saturation, a little bit less bright. There we go. Close enough, right? That looks like brown. And we're just gonna copy. Select that, copy, paste, pull that over. Copy, paste. Okay, so those are our 3 apartments. And then every time one of these doors opens, right, one of our characters is going to come out and they're going to come over here to this elevator. So what we can also do now is if we zoom all the way in, we want to create a little, just like a little button over here. So I'm going to do square with no fill. And I'm going to reduce the outline to number 2. So this is the button for the elevator, okay? And we're just going to quickly create some triangles here. There we go. That's perfect. I got that on the first try too. Let's select this. Let's fill it with red. There we go. Nice. And we're just going to put that there. Resize it a little bit. Zoom in a little bit more. Move this to this side. Copy, paste. Move that up here. And there we go. And you know what? Just so this whole thing looks amazing, let's make that a different color. So you're pressing up to go up, down to go down. Super intuitive. Oh. I'll select this, shift, that. Make sure it lines up. I want it lining up perfectly. Okay. And then we're going to select that as well. I'm going to copy, paste. Let's go down. Okay. So if you want it to line up, you press shift and then you drag it. Oh, sorry. Press shift and oh my god. Press this one, press this one, press this one. Drag them down, and if you hold shift, you'll notice it keeps everything lined up nicely, right? So it's like halfway in the middle. I want it to be halfway in the middle. Then I'm gonna copy, paste again. Drag it so that it lines up. And then drag it down some more and hold shift as you drag, and that keeps it lined up nicely, right? So I'm gonna go to the middle, and then the final floor is right there. I wonder if option hold, yeah, there we go. So if you hold alt and drag it down, it'll copy it, and then if you hold shift afterwards, it'll keep it nice and centered. Let's see, there's the middle. Okay, since this is the ground floor, we're not going to need this button, and also top floor, I'm going to need this button. And there you go. You got the basics of an apartment building right here. So these are going to be the buttons for the elevator. Those are the elevators, right? And each floor has 3 apartments, right? Nice and close together. You can hear your neighbors. Give this elevator a company name. How about we call it the Glory Vader? Glory Vader it is, dude. Where do we add this? There we go, text. So we're gonna put it in. Made proudly by, what was it again? Glory Vader. There we go. Let's make that black. Made proudly by Glory Vader. There we go. Alright. Made by Glory Vader. Thank you very much for your service. Just put that right there. Okay. So. Made by Glory Vader. Let's select all 3 doors. And we're going to go ahead and press Alt. Drag them down. Let go of the Alt. Press Shift. Holds it in place. Put those there. Alt again. Drag. Shift. Beauty. So, pretty cool. You know, you can prototype a lot of stuff really, really fast in Scratch, and that's one of the things I like about it. Is if you even decide, you know, later on down the line, if you're trying to make some visualizations for your company presentation, why not make it with Scratch? You know, just add a little bit of flavor, a little flavor, so your boss is not bored out of his mind at your presentation. Okay, so we can add numbers. Not going to do it now, but I just want to show you guys really quickly. So if you wanted to add, these are called sprites at the bottom here, and your sprite is basically your character. So what we're going to do is just upload it. Excuse me, real quick. There's John the nurse. Okay, and John the nurse is a little bit too big, so we're just gonna reduce the size here. Let's try 90. Nope. 60. I think it's closer to 30. Let's move them up a little bit just so we can see what's going on. So I'll do 80. Nope. 90. Nope. Let's do 110. 105. This is one thing I don't like, is how you can't just like drag them around. Or maybe it's because I didn't press backdrops. No, I am there. Yeah. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to drag him. Let's say this is him coming out of his apartment. He's really tall, so we're going to reduce his size down to 20. Oh, not 200. Okay. It's looking a lot better. So that's John, the nurse, coming out of his apartment. The idea behind this is John comes out of his apartment, he starts walking, right? Presses the button for the elevator. Now, how long, does it take the elevator to go all the way up to pick him up? So imagine, for example, that John's walking, it presses the button for the elevator. The logic behind it when you're making, your code over here, so we have variables and stuff like that. Sorry, I think it's operators. Yeah, so you're using your operators over here. Maybe it's control. There we go. That's what I was looking for. So your basic idea of it is if then, if something happens, so if, John presses the button, then send the elevator up. And you're sending the elevator up to the 4th floor. But the thing that makes this a little bit challenging is if, let's say, someone comes in, right? They press the button for the elevator goes down. It takes that person, like this person, let's say they're over here. They want to get up to the 3rd floor, so they get into the elevator, get over here. Now, John is, like I said, he's over here. He's waiting for the elevator. If another person comes and presses the button for the elevator, this is where the logic has to be taken into account, right? So the elevator, could just go to the first person that has that pressed the button, or it could go to the last person. Or what the elevator could do is say, well, I'm a little bit closer to John. He's right there. He's going down. So why not just go up one, pick him up, and go down, as opposed to going all the way to the 1st floor, picking this person up. Now John is left waiting, and he's going to get fired because he's late for work, right? So the logic behind it is what we're going to try to emulate here in Scratch. And what they've allowed us to do is actually use a couple of these items. So control, sensing, a couple of operators like adding, so if you can imagine, like you wanted to count time, so you had some kind of counter. That's how you would use it. And a couple of different things, events. So when something is clicked, obviously we're going to use this for some of these buttons, and we're going to get into it. So let's build this out bit by bit. So I just want to show you guys how this works. And obviously, we're going to have to do this another live. Glory Vader. Will this Glory Vader carry Smallzy? No, it can't. No, he's too heavy. I mean, it might if they upgrade it, or Smallzy does some cardio. Let's see if we can do. By the way, I love you, Smallzy. I'm just messing around, man. Jesus. Let's go for control. Sensing. So I think it's somewhere here. It's most likely going to be in events. Let's see. Oh no, motion. My bad. What the hell am I doing? Okay, so we're gonna add a couple of things here. So we have events when this is clicked. So you see how it's like modular? You just drag it across. So when this is clicked, which means this thing right here, it then says do something. So it's a collapsing sort of thing, right? So we're gonna go for motion. I want to move 10 steps, or better yet, if I know that he's at minus 65 and 84, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go to, oh no, sorry, glide. That's the one I want. So I'm going to get rid of this one. So go to, I guess it just sort of snaps right away. Glide allows you to enter in different settings. So our friend over here, he's at his apartment, which is right there. That's minus 63 to 84. I want him to glide all the way over here, right? Which is x87, y. Let's just keep y at 84. So we're going to do 87. Okay? And I'm going to bring this guy over here back to his apartment. Okay. So let's delete this. And let's see what happens. Okay. Maybe we should do like 3 seconds or something. Alright, let's press play. See what I mean? So, it's very simple, really. It just takes from whatever position he's at, and if you press play, the person just glides over and presses the button on the elevator. So we could do quite a bit with this, right? We can open elevator doors, right? We can have that motion going. We could open apartment doors, so have a what do you call it? And made by Glory Vader. We can have a transition going on here that makes it look sort of more natural. So let's just go ahead. If I press delete, I think it deletes these, right? Yep, there we go. So we'll delete the ones that we don't need. So when he goes all the way through and he ends up over here, what we want to do then is let's just open up the elevator door. So let's see if we could do that, okay? So I guess what we do need is part of our backdrop over here. This item. I want to recreate the backdrop but with this open. And I'm wondering how we do that. Because it might be one of two things. It could either be, like we said, motion, right? So we have what happened there? Oh, I see. So this is interesting. When you select each individual sprite, you can choose the motion. So I think what I have to do is make these into sprites as well. So instead of having this as part of the backdrop, make it an actual sprite where it's sort of like it opens up, so to speak, right? And like for the elevator doors, we could do, let's say, set rotation style, say hello. Oh, there's a lot of cool stuff in here. Switch backdrop. It's probably going to be this. It's probably going to be switch backdrop, right? Because I think there's quite a couple of, what is this backdrop number? Oh, that's pretty cool. Sound. You know what? Why don't we do that? So let's do a sound. We're gonna do start sound over here, and let's record. Okay, we're gonna allow. We have to. So let's imagine, he's moving towards the thing. So we're gonna record it. Come on, where's the elevator? Let's play that. Come on, where's the elevator? All right, that's John the nurse getting all mad. All right, John complaining. So this is pretty cool, right? You can actually add sounds, and you can do all kinds of different stuff. So the sound is John complaining, and then watch what happens. So he comes out of his, and you know what? Let's make it even more goofy. Let's just play another sound. We're gonna record it. So this is John walking to the elevator, right? Walking to elevator. And let's see how this plays together. So we want him walking to the elevator, and then it's gonna start doing that when he gets to the elevator. Let's see if that works. Come on, where's the elevator? Okay, so there's a bit of a delay. Alright. I think what we need to do is we need to play the sound before he starts gliding, because it's waiting for him to get to wherever he's supposed to get. So we're gonna hook these up like this, right? So it plays the sound first, then he start. Well, gliding happens at the same time because there's no edge delay happening with the sound, and then he starts complaining when he gets to the end, right? Until done, which is right there. So let's see what that works like. Sorry, let's just drag John back into your apartment. Okay, let's go. Interesting. So it doesn't work like that. We basically need a way to play them both at the same time. So let's see how that works. Start sound, walk into elevator. We want two things to happen at the same time, right? So if you want to do that, most likely, I'm thinking it's something to do with this control, right? Where it does two things at the same time. Let's see. If, then, else. No, that's not what we want. It's probably going to be start sound. So let's try that. We're going to start sound. Okay, walking to the elevator. And then what we're also going to do is just connect this block right here. And... This is so retarded, man. Alright, let's see if that works. Get back in your apartment, John. Let's try it out.
Come on, where's the elevator?
That's perfect. Okay, alright, that's perfect. There we go. I gotta get some voice actors for this, man. This is pretty funny. Can you imagine if the whole building just starts coming out and they're just making all this noise like, where's the elevator? Oh, man. Okay. Alright, so we have all these things going. So we're going to have all the different characters come out for you guys. John is going to be coming up to the elevator. And then obviously, like I said, in Affinity, we have about 4 other characters, so we're going to have all of those. I'm nearing the time limit that I have for this stream, so we'll be back for sure. If you stayed this long, thank you so much. And if you're checking this out for the first time, I really appreciate it. I know we're all struggling. A lot of people are struggling with the CS50 course. Stop struggling. Just let it go. Mentally, tell yourself that you're capable. Tell yourself that you could do it. Tell yourself that you're special. You got this. Believe me. And stay tuned. Obviously, we're going to be doing a lot more videos. We're going to be covering Tiedemann, and we're going to be covering a lot more Scratch stuff. And hopefully we'll be making a video game. I'm trying to basically ramp this up because I finished this course already, and I'm just doing this for fun, to be honest with you. And what I'd like to structure this as is eventually, as we go along, we build up to more, let's say more difficult concepts, like, let's say AI, for example. If you want to learn about neural nets, we can get into that. Or we can get into automation. I know a lot of people want to learn about N8N, for example. If you want to learn how to best present yourself during interviews, if you're trying to learn more about designing through Affinity, we're going to cover a lot of that, and I'm going to try to make it as useful and practical as possible. So not only do you do this stuff as you're, studying or preparing to go to work, you can do this stuff at home just to have fun, you know what I mean? And you can just kind of play around with Scratch, make a couple different games, learn how functions work, build all kinds of stuff, and learn awesome, cool concepts. So if you stayed this far, thank you very much. If you're checking me out, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Awesome Show. Thank you, Mehi. And thank you, Smallsy. Love you guys. Bye-bye.